Welcome to the GCW Plant Podcast, Episode 6. I am your host, Mystical Jericho, and once again, coming back to the show, our new co-host, Mr. JJW, John J. Wolf. How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing great tonight. I'm ready to get into this Gateway to Death.
And let's hop right into Gateway to Death from
Yes.
nightclub in St. Louis, Illinois. So, start off the night, Nick Gage comes out. He does MLJ does his little entrance, gets the crowd all hyped up. Nick Gage says how much he loves these people, and it's their first time in St. Louis. So even though he's not wrestling on the card, at least he made an appearance, made his entity known to the St. Louis crowd, even though he might not have been in a match. And pretty sure he hops on a couple of matches and does some ring announcing too, which was awesome. I like to see him, at least if he's not going to be used in a wrestling capacity, come out and hype up the death matches, get the crowd excited for that. They still love seeing him. His entrance alone is just as good as a match at this point. Is his stage in his career now, and he still has the love, and at least he's also on commentary, which I love having him on commentary. I don't know how you feel about it, but I love hearing him on commentary because he's just always hysterical to me, like, oh, fuck him up, stab him, stab him in the eye. And then he's always like, fuck that ref, he don't know what he's doing. That ref's out of here, beat his ass. I love that.
He's I actually said it with two other guys. It's starting to be my thing, but really, he is GCW. Like his voice, who he is, everything about him, he exudes everything about him is ECW. Oh, I'm sorry. See that? That's a funny slip up because I'll tell you, he'd fit there too. That's another talk for another time. But that's all he is. So just like you're saying, hearing him on the mic, he's just phenomenal. He's got that tough guy attitude, straight out of, it's like that New Jersey kind of talk. It's everything that GCW is. It was where GCW was born. And it's just, God, I love listening to him.
Yeah, the ECW slip-up's not a slight. Like, GCW's being compared to ECW, and if you're a star in GCW being compared to the stars of ECW, I'm pretty sure he would not take that as a slight. And him just being out there, getting the energy to start off the night for the crowd, especially for them being GCW's first time in St. Louis, I thought that was very awesome to see, and I want to see a lot more of it.
Yes, 100%.
For our first match of the evening, we had Gringo Loco, the base god, going against Blake Christian, once again in his Graveheart mask. And this was a nice, fun match. Nice way to start off the show, get the crowd hyped, especially, once again, being their first time in St. Louis. What two better wrestlers, especially Blake Christian. He's on his roll lately. Gringo has not put on a bad match in a long time, and that was a very great way to start the opening match of the night.
Yes. I wanted to say on my end, it was an extremely strong opener. Both men showed up. Like if you wanted to ask someone what a Gringo Loco match would look like, this was a great example. Same thing for Blake Christian. A bonus that they actually met for this one. There was dueling chants quite a bit. Right off the bat, they did start with a show of respect. So I thought that was really cool. What about you? We were talking earlier about something. I don't know if you still have the stats on it, but this year Blake has only lost 3 matches?
I think 3 singles matches if you don't count like the couple rumbles they did and like the clusterfuck that they did, the collective. But yeah, he's like 25-3 for this year in GCW. Hence why he's next in line to get the next shot at Jon Moxley.
I'm sorry. I sidetracked you there on what was going on in the match.
No, it's funny that I just wanted to bring up the one cool spot I really like seeing was Gringo Loco does his little 2 front flips, and then he does his little dance at the end. But as he was doing those front flips, Blake Christian showing off his agility himself, and not to be outdone by Gringo, he decided to do the front flips too and land right behind him and kind of stare him down. And then Gringo turns around and he goes like, "What the fuck, man? Did you steal my shit?" Like, that was great. I love Gringo Loco doing that, taking control of his own shit. And not to be outdone by Blake Christian. Love seeing it.
Oh, man. Okay, so what I was thinking here in this situation was after this, so the finish. Blake did a poison rana from the top rope, and then he did a head stomp onto the canvas. Blake picked up that win. What are we looking at? A little over 13 minutes. It was a great match. Honestly, 5 or 10 more minutes longer, and it probably would have been the match of the night. It was well on its way to being one hell of a story, and it's just another matchup where if they're given the right spotlight, they're going to deliver.
Yeah, those two, I don't think I've seen them not deliver at any match in their GCW career. And I think that was the first time seeing them go head on one, which is very interesting. Like, I was kind of interested in see how the outcome would be, since Gringo Loco has been on his little roll with the Luchas and Blake Christian's just on his GCW tear, just beating everybody. I loved seeing the hot start tonight. It might not have been the normal scramble match to get the crowd hyped like they normally do sometimes, but this was if it wasn't a scramble match, this was the best way to introduce the GCW action to the brand new St. Louis crowd.
Oh yeah, if you wanted a singles, this would have been a great example.
Yes. And like you said, Blake won with the Poison Rana, and then I'm calling it the Grave Stomp. I don't know if I've heard KG call it or someone else call it, or if I'm stealing it or making it up myself, but I'm calling that little curb stomp the Grave Stomp, since Blake Christian has his little Graveheart gimmick going. So awesome start to the night. Great opening match. For our second match of the evening, we have the legend, Too Cold Scorpio, going up against Alley Catch, and what I consider was a pretty fun match. It started off nice and fun. They had the little dance offs. They had the little dancing with the kid at the entranceway. That one kid was grooving until Too Cold came out. Then he got scared, and then Too Cold started dancing, and then the kids got back into it. So that was cool seeing them give love to that kid. And then seeing the back and forth of Alley Catch and Too Cold Scorpio with the dance off and comedy little skit, and then it got serious real fast.
Yes. The wrestling was great right off the bat. I really wasn't judging the wrestling in this match. I was really more interested in kind of more of the comedy. They're both really, I'm trying to think of the word for it. When they have that something, it's just, they have that something without the, for lack of a better word. But I was looking forward
with
to
the fans. They connect with the fans
Yeah.
in different ways, like in different styles that they each do. Like Too Cold Scorpio does the dancing, does the comedy, does the high flying, while Alley Catch is a woman in the ring beating up men, beating up women, beating up anybody in front of her, while also being very technical and having fun with it. So they both could connect with the crowd.
Charisma.
Yes,
I was looking for that word. Charisma. Yeah. They both have so much charisma that, I mean, neither of them can do wrong. Even if Scorpio decides to be heel, it's going to go over well with the crowd. If anything, they'll just play into it because he's trying to be a heel.
Yeah. And of course, in a natural way, you got Alley Cat going against another man. Naturally, she's going to be the babyface. They all want to see the underdog win. They all want to have hope that Alley could, for the women out there, showing like it not just have, she doesn't have to go against the women. She holds her own against men and does it on a very consistent basis in GCW.
Oh yeah, I'd have to say that really, I mean, it's really hard to find many women that can come in and hang with her. And what I mean with that is hang with the men.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think there's a better way to put it. Without better words, she's just one of the guys. There's really very little separation. I have seen once or twice where people do get kind of weary. Like every now and then, Scorpio, he took this gave her a real hard chop. And every now and then you can almost hear in the crowd that it's a little more than usual, and I think there is that small separation that's still there.
Yes, and I can speak on firsthand experience. My first ever GCW show, I saw Joey Janela go against Alley Catch, and like that match ended with the ref throwing up the X because I think he slammed her on the outside with the DVD on the apron, on the hard part of the apron, as everyone wants to say. And like she might have seriously hurt her ribs. But like, yeah, there was a hush in the crowd. And like during that match, since that was my first GCW show, I had not used to seeing a bunch of men go against women. So I was kind of interested to see how that would turn out. And Joey laid it in. And like you said, sometimes the wrestlers, they know they have to keep it stiff on them, and it just comes off across different when it's Joey Janela or Too Cold really giving Alley Catch the business in the ring. And as a fan, like my first one, I was like, is she all right? Is she okay? And luckily I saw her afterwards during the craziness of a normal SGC match. They're outside and all the wrestlers are outside too, wanting to watch what crazy shit Manders and Mansor's going to do. So seeing her outside though after the injury, and she was okay, and a couple fans checking up on her, like that made it a lot easier to stomach at the end of the day.
Oh, well, speaking of injury, Here's how our finish went. Too Cold Scorpio came off the top rope, did his basic flip. He I don't want to call it basic, but it's one of his finishers. I don't have the name for it right now, but it came off, hit it for the win. This kind of gets fast, this whole after part of the match, because it does talk about an injury. Instead of going out of memory, I'm going to kind of go off of my notes for a second. In my notes, it says, after the match, we realized Ali was accidentally hit in the face by the back of Scorpio's shoe. Scorpio came to her aid immediately. He was a real class act. He obviously felt bad. She was bleeding bad, dropping a lot of blood in the process. They gave her a towel, and Scorpio held it for her, and then actually towels her off towards the end. He really treated her with care. I think he was a real gentleman about the whole situation. He was a real professional, and luckily Davey Richards was right there to assist her as soon as she got to that curtain.
Yes, and awesome. It was Too Cold Scorpio. Like, you guys are both competitors in the ring. Unfortunately, someone gets hurt, but after the match was over, after Scorpio picked up that win, he realized he might have seriously injured Ali, and he didn't want to seriously injure her. He wanted to pick up the win, of course, as any wrestler would. But right afterwards, he realized the match was over. The competitiveness went away, and the respect factor kicked in. And you can see Ali kind of like not surprised by it, but felt very like overwhelmed. Like, hey, so you didn't have to sit there and make sure I was okay. You just beat me. You just won. I'll be okay. I've done this before. But you could tell she took a lot of gratitude in the way that Too Cold treated her and helped her out afterwards. So that was very awesome to see.
Yeah, I think both of them handled it the best they could. I mean, just in closing, though, Scorpio was a true professional.
Yes, and it was an awesome match before all that action and comedy that happened before, and the crazy finish at the end. Just one unfortunate heel to the face, but take nothing away from Too Cold. He gets the victory and take nothing away from Alley Catch just because she lost. She proves she's one bad bitch in that GCW ring. For match 3 of the night, we had Axton Ray going against Ninja Kamikaze Mac, and I was excited for this match. I am quickly and not so quietly becoming a huge fan of Axton Ray and letting everybody know about it. I think he has something in him. I first saw him. He kind of has a little it factor, and him going against Ninja Mac here, you never know. Well, we kind of know what we're going to get from a Ninja Mac, but we just never know what kind of damage Ninja Mac is going to take. And somebody from Axton Ray who's shows off his strength, his agility, and his creativeness in this match. Like, it was very awesome to see, and I was looking forward to watching this. And in my opinion, it did not disappoint.
Yeah, this match was really a high-flying affair. Somewhat. It wasn't really the fast-paced Ninja Mac kind of match. This really was slowed down, and the action was kind of moderate. This was really more of a real wrestling match. This wasn't a spot fest. People weren't trying to break their ankles off the top ropes. This was really, I think this was about solidifying Ninja Mac as being able to be a wrestler, to keep his feet on the ground, to show that he has more than just the air underneath him as a wrestler.
And going to before even Bloodsport, when he participated in the Bloodsport event, he was those first matches heading into Bloodsport. He showed off his ninja skills, if you want to say, and would quickly and without the opponent even knowing, catch him in the rear naked choke, or he would sit there and roll with them and get out of these crazy predicaments that he found himself in, which is something we don't, like how you said, we don't see a lot of Ninja Mac doing, because he's always doing the high flying, highly fast-paced match, and seeing the technical prowess that he's gaining and now showing to us. And ever since Bloodsport, I like seeing Ninja incorporate that into his wrestling style, and he's doing a very good job with that lately.
I really can't disagree in this situation. It's just same thing that I said, I think, on the last show. This was another one where if a kid showed up to see Ninja Mac, I don't think this would have been full Ninja Mac. He has minutes sometimes where he's just flipping and putting the moves on. And I mean, he's really doing his thing. There wasn't as much of that in this one. I really do still strongly say this was more about staying on the mat.
Yes. And luckily, Axton, he's kind of shown he's pretty creative on the mat as well. He's does his little like front flip into the ropes and bounces off of it, and then does like another back flip, where people usually hit the back flip into the ropes and then do a front flip move. Like, he's kind of switching up the style, and I like seeing him be creative in the ring. And that's a perfect opponent for him to show off his creativity and his strength and his agility is with Ninja Mac. And I think they put on a pretty great match. And I definitely want to see both of these go at it sometime soon. And Axton's getting better each and every time we see him in this GCW ring. And hopefully we keep on seeing a lot more of him as well and seeing his growth as a GCW performer this year.
Yeah, this was a situation where, both guys really did show up to the match, but Axton's kind of the talk of the town right now just because he's brand new. Brand new is one thing, but these moves, I'll tell you, his athleticism shows. And it's one of those things where when he walks to the ring, you don't really see anything special. You're not seeing anything more than a good wrestler coming out. He looks clean. He has a decent physique. He's not chiseled and cut. You can just see that he can hold his own as someone who comes out there to try to perform. And then here comes the flips. And then here comes the moves. And here comes all these things that you didn't maybe expect him to do. And boy, is it a showcase when he can.
And GCW does a pretty good job of finding these people that nobody really heard of, and they make a name for themselves real quick in GCW. Ninja Mac being one of them. Like, he took some time off of wrestling for a little bit, went back in, started doing his training. GCW, I don't even know how they got a hold of him, how they found out about him, but they brought him in, and since day one, Ninja Mac's killed it. You can say the same thing for Nick Wayne. Nobody who knew Nick Wayne was before GCW, and he's been killing it. And Axton Ray would just be another one of those line of wrestlers that nobody's heard of, but you give him that one opportunity on the GCW independent wrestling scale and the platform, and he shows you what he does. And all that takes is that one good showing, and boom, you're going to hopefully become a GCW regular soon. And Brett has done a very good job of inviting those kind of wrestlers back and back and back for all these shows and going all around the country, so that way they could get better recognition and more popular with everybody.
Yeah, I really do think that in this, just Brett has done a hell of a job to make sure that as fans we're happy.
Yes, very much so. I've never left a GCW show either watching or in person disappointed, and it just keeps on going. And this match shows, like, give Brett the creativity and the talent and let the wrestlers do their thing and keep his hands off of them. Just let him, hey, go out there and steal the show. And these two tried their best, and they did a very good match, nice, solid match, and ended up with Ninja Mac hitting, or looked like he almost hit a Phoenix 630, but he just missed.
Yeah.
Axton capitalized on it, tried rolling up Ninja. Ninja showed his technical skills that we were just talking about, improving, and end up rolling up Axton for the win. And hopefully that will jumpstart him here and get on a little roll and start seeing more Ninja Mac before he heads back to Noah.
Hey, every little bit of Ninja we can get right now, we're going to take. Every moment is precious.
Yes, very much so. And Ninja, keep on killing it. Axton, please keep on coming back. We want to see more of you. For our fourth match of the evening, we have everybody's lovable favorite asshole, Tony Deppen, going against Nick fucking Wayne. And this was a kind of a big match between both of them, as they both just main evented each night's show the weekend prior, with Tony Deppen having his main event mayhem match against Moxley, and Nick Wayne showing that he could hold his own against one of the world's greatest right now in Will Ospreay. So both of them took losses that weekend, and this was a nice way to see who could get back on that winning track and get back on their momentum to hopefully become either some GCW world title holder or GCW's ultraviolet or extreme title holder. So this was an interesting match. I was looking forward to coming in.
Yeah, this was a situation where Deppen's really one of the most technically sound wrestlers in GCW at this time. And like you were saying here, we were going to probably talk about this, is how he's the gatekeeper.
Yes.
He tends to be one of the people that if they have someone coming in here that has a little bit of skill, or someone they're looking at to maybe bring on more of a full-time basis, they always have to go against Tony there, and they have to really see what technical skills they have.
Yeah, and Tony takes all these wrestlers that are put in front of him, whether it be, which seems to be a lot in the last few months, was first timers. They put him, first time GCW wrestlers, put him in the ring with Tony, and Tony takes him to the deep end and makes sure, like, hey, this is how it's going to be in GCW. You're going to hold yourself, or you're going to come out here and drown. And most of the time they all come out swimming and have a very good showing with Tony. But sometimes Tony takes him out to the deep end and drowns him, and he ends up getting the victory and killing all that momentum. So it's very, very cool seeing Nick Wayne going against Tony Deppen, and Nick Wayne, after pushing himself to limits against a high flyer and very fast-paced match against Will Ospreay. Here he got to show his technical prowess while showing off his aerial moveset as well against Tony.
Yeah, I think this was stretching Nick Wayne's ground attack. This was really a back and forth. Generally, you're going to have a spot fest. You're going to have this. It really was back and forth the whole time. No one was really truly dominant in this event. Is there anything else you really have to say about it? Because really, it was just a situation where, Wayne never disappoints. Deppen never disappoints. So, yeah, let me know what you kind of think on this one.
I thought they both had a chip on their shoulder coming in after main eventing and then both losing. Obviously, everybody hears about Tony's chip on his shoulder because right afterwards he got put in those scrambles. And he made everybody hear all the complaints he had about being put in the scrambles after main eventing against Moxley and having a great showing. But it's just the way it is. Like, I know GCW, yeah, you had your chance. You lost. You go back to the bottom and you got to work your way back up. And working his way back up right now is Tony Deppen going against Nick Wayne, and then Nick Wayne held his own, ended up hitting the clout cutter on Tony Deppen and picking up the win. And hopefully we'll be seeing more Nick Wayne in these bigger profile matches since he showed he could hold his own against the high flyer. He held his own against Tony, and who knows what's next for Nick Wayne coming up in the future after the Ospreay and now after the Tony match.
Nick Wayne is the future. I think that's where we're at.
Yep, and I don't think you would find anybody to disagree. At the age of 17, putting on these crazy matches that I don't think I've seen a bad Nick Wayne match either. No matter the style, tag match, scramble, one-on-one, wherever it is, he's always shows up. He always balls out, and this was just another example of it.
At all costs, let's protect Nick Wayne.
Yes. For the next matchup of the evening is a singles bout of Bad Boy Joey Janela going against Davey Richards, who is technically making his GCW debut, even though he's been on the blood sports we've seen a lot lately, but he's never actually been in a GCW ring as far as I can remember. So it was very nice seeing Davey Richards, one of the independent legends that helped grow the independent scene, but with Ring of Honor and Impact and everything else he's been doing in the independent scene or independent world. He's awesome to see him in the GCW ring going against the Bad Boy Joey Janela. What did you think of this match, John?
Well, it was a solid 18 minutes of nothing but in-ring performances. This didn't really go outside the ring. There wasn't much street fighting. There wasn't a lot of weapons. There wasn't a lot of bleeding. This was just a real solid wrestling match. It was really nice to see. It was refreshing. Joey Janela's been trying to put over a lot of people lately. So to see this coming from Davey Richards and him, I think it was a really enjoyable match overall.
Yes, and you said putting him over. While putting everyone over, he's making himself a talking point, whether it be good or bad, during every single one of these matches. And if I know the Bad Boys but as well as I think I do, knowing his online personality and from what little I've talked to him, interactions at live shows, he loves the spotlight, whether it be good or bad. He's getting his name out there. It's being recognized as all the hard work he's done, once again, in the independent scene, helping the independent scene grow, just like people like Davey Richards. And he's puts it all on the line, no matter the size of the crowd or the location of it. Anytime Joey's in a ring, you know you're going to get 1,000% from Joey. And as you said, too, this is not a typical Joey, let's go outside, do crazy moves, get the crowd involved, get a little hardcore action. This was, hey, this is my time. I got a nice, solid, well-known technical wrestler, and I want to make him look good while also showing off how well I could hold my own going against this type of wrestler. And it was very, very awesome to see Joey Janela hold his own against Davey Richards for the most part during the match.
Yeah, so I'm going to dig back, I don't know, let's go 3 years, maybe 2 years. There was a point in Joey's AEW career where he decided he was going to go against all the stuff he was doing at the time. And he wanted to be a more complete wrestler. He wanted to get that ass in the ring and basically start learning how to, not learning, but start really polishing his skills and get himself maybe as a respected performer. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We do hear a lot of people call Joey Janela the one thing everybody sees when they see him, backyard wrestler. And he wants to, I think he's trying to do two things with his wrestling. With that, he wants to say, like, hey, backyard wrestling is a form of wrestling, it doesn't need to be hated on, just like all these other styles. But
Yeah.
he's also proven like, hey, I'm not just a quote unquote backyard wrestler. I could hold my own with a Minoru Suzuki in GCW. I could hold the groundwork with with Davey Richards. I could put on an awesome match with Sean Waltman, even though he's at the age that he's at. So
Yeah.
it's Joey just loves having these matches. I think he takes some of the crazier matches, as if we go like into VXS when he went against Santana Jackson. Like
Yeah.
he made Santana Jackson look awesome that match, and like his name blew up because of that match with Joey. And I think, not to take anything away from Santana Jackson, but a lot of that match was, hey, Joey Janela is going to be carrying you through it, and we're going to do the wild things, and it came out awesome. And that's just Joey Janela. Like, doesn't matter what your name is, he wants to make your name bigger while also showing all his haters like, hey, I could do whatever style you want me to do. And this match was a, hey, we're gonna have a serious Joey match, and me and Dave are gonna tear the house down, and we're not gonna have to do all this crazy stuff that you all want to hate on me for.
So I think what's going to happen down the road, and I'm, to the best of my ability, I'm working on seeing the future, but I think down the road, a lot of people are going to be watching GCW tapes 2000s, 2010s. I'm sorry, into the teens. I don't know what to call. Are they the aughts? The 20 aughts? The 20? I don't know. But I think people are going to go back 20 years from now, and they're going to review a lot of these old videos. And I think Joey Janela is going to definitely be one of the people that we're going to talk about. Do you remember when he lit his shoe on fire? Do you remember when he took this dive? There's so many memorable things, and he tries to make them all the time, all the way down to the backyard show you were at, where he starts in the pool. just talking points.
Yeah, so he's going to be remembered for all those things, but I think he is also like, hey, this is my one time to shine with Davey Richards. Let's have them remember me as a great technical wrestler. Remember that match I had against Davey in GCW? Don't say I'm a bad technical wrestler. I can hold my own in any style, in any form, in any setting. And that's what I think he goes out and tries to prove every single night.
Yeah, so this was really interesting how this one finished up, not because of the finish, but what Davey had to say afterwards. So basically the finish went like this. Davey hit a Gotch-style pile driver on Joey, and it was a quick 1, 2, 3. But what was said afterwards was really what the most important was. And I'm going to quote Davey because this was important word for word. He said, "I've been around a long time, and I've seen places start with very little, and they become cultural phenomenons. Let me tell you guys something from the bottom of my heart. You all, you fans, you guys in the back, you up there, and especially guys like you," and he's pointing around at this point, and even the talent. He said, "You are part of something very special." That was a quote from Davey Richards.
And who else better to say that? He was there with Ring of Honor at the dark Ring of Honor days. He was there Impact. Not at the beginning, but like him and Eddie Edwards came in a little bit later, but they stayed through all the downtimes. They came in at the downtime of Impact Wrestling when they had all the shenanigans going on. He helped them recover and become not more credible, but get their credibility back after the hit that they took. He's been to all these different companies, and he doesn't have to do that. Him, like Alex Shelley and the Motor City Machine Guns, like they don't have to be going to all these independent places and doing these shows. They are choosing to go out of their way to get on these shows and to show everybody it's like, hey, this company's for real. We're going to take them seriously, and you all should too. If I'm in here doing this, you all should be taking it seriously. And I think that's came off in this match, especially it being in his hometown too, in St. Louis. So he was able to show off a great match with Joey Janela. And maybe not a lot of people in the wrestling world thought like, oh, Joey against Davey, like Davey's either going to embarrass Joey or Joey's going to have to do something crazy. But Joey held his own. He showed he could do any work you want. And Davey Richards says, hey, I could do this stuff too, and this is where we're going to put on a great technical match, and that's what they did.
Yeah, the GCW fans won. Then you have Davey making Janela look that much better. You have Janela looking so much better on his own there. Thank you again for another 20 minutes, Brett. We really appreciate it.
Yes, and keep Davey Richards coming on GCW. Keep him coming on Bloodsport. Get Davey Richards on our screens as much as possible. Next match of the night, we have Jordan Oliver going against Dark Sheik. And this is a rematch to one of the matches they had a couple months ago back in LA at the Ukrainian Cultural Center, where Jordan Oliver picked up the victory, albeit controversial, over Dark Sheik, as they kind of did like the little Owen Hart, Bret Hart spot where Dark Sheik had him in the full Nelson. He ran to the corner, used his feet to push Dark Sheik back, and he rolled over Dark Sheik, and then had the momentum of his shoulders covering her shoulders, and then he got the victory. But a lot of people didn't understand who won or whatnot, but Jordan picked up the win, and this was a rematch here, and it was a nice little fun match with Jordan Oliver, Dark Sheik, a good little rematch. They didn't really repeat anything much from their first match, but what did you think of the match, John?
It was an entertaining 10 minutes. I like that it started with the handshake and then straight with the chops to the chest. I always like to see the chops come out early because 5-10 minutes in, once those chops start to really start to kind of work their way in, the next time someone gets hit there, you know it's going to hurt. Anybody who's ever had a bruise knows you hit that bruise, it's going to really hurt. So I'm kind of a fan of that kind of stuff. But otherwise, it was a good match, solid wrestling. Again, it was a decent 10 minutes. It was it just felt like a really quick match. I don't know why. I liked the fact that Jordan Oliver was called Big Breakfast, the East Coast Ace, and the Clout Cutter all within one match. So I really thought that was cool.
He's got a lot of nicknames to him, and he's been proving it. East Coast Ace. He's been winning the last couple matches. This was his second victory on the weekend. He ended up getting the win over Dark Sheik as he hit the gonorrhea, which is a little tribute to one of his favorite wrestlers, Jimmy Rave, for the win. And like you said, it was a nice, good, solid match, nice little rematch. And with the chops, they didn't have to come out and warm up and try to get the game plan on the other person with the headlock and feel each other out. They just had a match a couple months ago. They knew what to expect from their opponents, and they just came out swinging and getting right into the action. So very good match. I liked seeing Dark Sheik getting her GCW. She's been now traveling with them, which is good. We've just kind of lately seen her on the West Coast, but now she's going more East Coast with them, out now to the Midwest. So it's very nice seeing her starting to get to be a GCW regular. And I, being the Jordan fan I am, little biased here, but nice to see him get his second win of the victory and keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both Dark Sheik and Jordan Oliver. Once we get to the video portion over here, I do want to show people who are listening that I have a Dark Sheik chair. And this Dark Sheik chair is kind of really important to me because it was a chair that Jay Vidal ended up going through twice during that Las Vegas show that both you and I were at. And it's just one of those people I always like to see every time they come out, because I had a chance to meet both of them. I know both of them are really nice people. And I was really happy that they opened up as the first match right after intermission.
Yeah, it was a very smart way of getting the crowd back into it, easing them into the rest of the card, not just coming out crazy with another death match or something right after intermission. You want to keep building the crowd up towards the main event. So this was a very fun way to introduce them back after the intermission. And noticing your chair, yeah, it's got a big dent back there. And you said that was Jay Vidal's head? Is that who you said it was?
Yeah, that thing is in such bad shape. I'm gonna have to post pictures onto Twitter at some point, but it's completely wrecked. It's being held on there by a couple nails. I take it down, the whole damn thing falls apart in my hands.
Well, shout out to FSW, shout out to Jay Vidal, and John thanks you for the cool piece of merchandise he has in the background.
Hell yeah.
Match number 7 of the night is a singles match between Effie and Delirious. Delirious making his GCW debut. As he began his career in St. Louis, it was kind of awesome seeing him making his GCW debut right where he made his original debut. There's a lot of interesting things that happened in this match. John, you want to go over those?
Yeah. So the first interesting thing that I wanted to talk about, I'm a big fan of the color green. Delirious's outfit was awesome because of that alone. He looked in shape physically. He was in great condition. It was nice to see the newest Delirious back. It was really, really, really impressive to watch him go out there and still use the moveset he used to have. And it looks like he's added some in the last 6 months. I really did like how Effie used the tarantula. I'm a real big fan of the tarantula. I've seen it for years. It was in ECW. Now it's in GCW. At least someone's carrying that flag. The longer they can hold that tarantula on the ropes, the better. Speaking of ropes, Delirious was changing ropes back and forth. He has that little thing he's known for. If you get a chance, go back and watch that. It's kind of cool. Nobody else really does it. That's really all I have to say about that. Do you have anything?
Yeah, when Delirious was acting delirious and running all over the ring and bouncing all over the ropes and changing the directions, trying to confuse Effie. I love the part where Effie finally is like, okay, I'm tired of all this rope running. Let me just drop down and do my normal, hey, bring it to Effie, come to Effie. And you even see like Effie kind of give the look of, yeah, sure, I'll try it. Why not? Not knowing what Delirious has been through and what is underneath all those pair of pants. Effie made it well known. He's down to try anything. So I love seeing that spot in that match. And I like kind of Effie's evolution in like that spot and the kissing spot that he normally does. Like the opponents that he's going up against lately is using a little reverse psychology on him. And hey, you can't get the mind advantage over me. We're going to use that over you. And so they're trying to turn all the Effie stuff onto Effie. And Effie's like, no, I've been in this game too long. I know what I'm doing. I know what you guys are trying to do to me, and it ain't going to happen. And I love him taking control of those situations instead of letting the opponents have control of it as they think they do. So it was very awesome seeing the two different styles of Effie and Delirious. They meshed well during this match. I think it delivered on what it was expected to be, and that was a very fun and entertaining match. Something that we've never seen in the ring before, obviously, as GCW. What's the name? Delirious making his GCW debut. So it's kind of interesting him making his GCW debut against Effie, as you never know what Effie has planned for that night.
Yeah, and Effie's one of those people where you're going to have to kind of fit his style more than he's going to have to fit your style. So if you're there to try to put on the quintessential Delirious match, you might not be having it that night. It's more a lot of adjustment is what I can see. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I do listen to Effie's podcast that he has out there, and he tries to focus on the 12, maybe even a 10-minute match sometimes. He actually prides himself on that, because he thinks that he's putting himself out there. People are entertained with it. He doesn't want to overdo it. And this was another situation where it looks like he came in around 12 minutes. So, it was a TKO straight into a submission. Effie won that bad boy, and everybody was happy.
Yes, shout out to Effie's podcast, Weekend at Effie's. And going back to your point of Effie being in control and like not going to other people's styles. He's done that with a lot of different people. Sadika is another match I just recently saw, was rewatching, is like he don't like kind of went into Sadika style, but like with the death match, but he's shown he's could do it his way and with his style. And I like the way he adapts to whatever opponent he's having, and he does his opponents adapt to his style, because like you said, he's like the ring general. He's staying in charge and he's going to keep everything on track, and he's did it very well with Delirious, because you never know with Delirious, like he just might start going at the referee, like asking and speaking his language, and referee's like, what the hell? So going against Delirious was a very, like, he had to have control, because Delirious is out there, and I want to see more of Delirious is out there in the GCW ring as well.
Oh, absolutely. Watching Effie and then Delirious and then putting them together, it's just, I can't think of two things right off the top of my head that go well together, but boy, it just made it even sweeter once they did mix. Wow. I mean, I was really happy with this. It was a nice little setup to that 6-man tag that's coming up next. So I'd have to say, after the Oliver, and then they brought in a little bit of the more comedy with the Effie and Delirious match, that having those two was a nice touch. Effie coming out alone is something that I definitely love to hear. I love the music every time. So anytime Effie, perfect.
Yes, and speaking of that 6-man match, is another rematch of a recent show. I think it was Los Macizos' second match back in the States, but we have another 6-man tag match of Los Macizos teaming up with Jimmy Lloyd again, going against SGC of Manders, Warner, and Justice again. And this was another typical GCW or SGC match, like, and with Los Macizos, you never know what's going to happen. They're going to be all over the place. Los Macizos, you don't know what weapons they're going to bring out. SGC, you don't know where they're going to take the fight. And Jimmy Lloyd, he's a different boy. He as unstable as it is, and nobody knows what he's going to be doing. So let's talk about that match. And
Yeah, sure. I was really surprised that this match even started in the ring, knowing how, one team is, knowing how the other team is. I mean, I'm really surprised it started there. It only took a few minutes, though, and they went right to the outside of the ring. This is where SGC is comfortable. The fans, now they're getting involved. Everybody's getting a front row seat. Absolutely typical beauty that SGC can only put on in the way of a match.
And we got my favorite part of a SGC match, which is...
Tell me it's the double window.
SGC double screen. I love seeing
yes.
that. The second gear crew with the second camera crew going all over the arena. And of course, Ciclope and Los Macizos and Jimmy Lloyd, they're down for that kind of style. That's what they kind of built their name off of, is the crazy lucha extreme as Los Macizos, or Jimmy Lloyd, Deathmatch Lloyd. Like, he's down for all that stuff. So I love seeing these teams of three going at each other. Even though it just recently happened, I will take absolutely more of them. They're always so combustible elements, and they're going to always do some crazy shit to try to one-up each other within their own tag team, let alone one-up each other to get the victory in the match. So I love seeing those teams of three go at it all the time.
Oh, yeah. And I did want to talk about one of the spots that Justice is starting to get known for. He actually kind of sets up the tables. They're held up by chairs. He's doing his thing over on the side. Even as a fan who watches this, I'm going, okay, what the hell's going to happen here? Well, okay, I know what's going to happen. I'm not going to BS myself.
It's just,
so
you got to know what's going to happen when he's doing that.
Dude, exactly. And he goes up to the balcony. I'm guessing it's roughly 15 feet. It's probably going to be more. I'm not great with judging that kind of, that kind of stuff. And then he kind of does this little pose on the edge of that ledge there. He's just trying to suck up all the love he can from the fans. Everybody's really eating it up. But what he doesn't see is Ciclope coming up from behind there. He was kind of hidden. Nailed Justice in the back with the chair. So then, boom, Justice takes the big dive. Down he goes. Crash.
Justice has no fear in him whatsoever. He's just down to show up, have a few beers, have fun, party, go out there, kick some ass, and let's go continue the party with our new friends that we just kicked their ass from.
Yeah, that Ciclope dive there was just right after it. The holy shit chants start popping out. Lovely.
Yeah, Ciclope is another one too. It's like him and Los Macizos, or him and Vito Extremo, like, they've been back. They're on a mission to say, like, hey, we know we haven't been here for 4 years, but we're gonna continue what we started here, and we're gonna end it here nice and strong. And they have killed it every single match they've been in since they've been back in GCW.
Yeah, and we haven't had a chance to talk about Jimmy yet, but that's primarily where we talk here. That Justice hits the splash on Jimmy all the way from the top rope, rolls him up, gets the win. SGC for the win. The crowd goes nuts. It's just SGC in the building. It's really like a party. I really hope that they kind of take that to a new level where you expect it every time, the chaos every time. They've really been on that for a while, but it's like they've really been embracing it a lot more since. I freaking love it. If I see them on the card, I know, great, the place is going to go fucking nuts because SGC is there.
And the second that Pantera walk hits, the crowd and the feeling in the atmosphere in that room changes. Like, it don't matter where you're at, if you're by the entrance, if you're in the back of the arena, you hear that music, you see everybody go nuts. It brings a different feel to that match coming up. And going back to what you said about Jimmy Lloyd, it's like, in these matches, he's doing his stuff and he's like doing his thing like he always does and doing some crazy stuff. But with Los Macizos teaming with him, it kind of seems like they're kind of overshadowing him. So I wonder if that's going to, and him taking the loss here, I wonder if that's going to lead to some dissension between the trio, since Jimmy's been tagging with them lately. So I'm interested to see what that ends up bringing, especially with, I believe, NGI coming up here pretty soon. So interested to see what Los Macizos and Jimmy Lloyd, if they continue as a trio, or if some dissension happens with the group and it leads to something further along down the line.
Perfect.
And in the main event of GCW's Gateway to the Death, we ended off with a GCW Ultraviolet title match between the Ultraviolet champion, three-peat himself, Alex Colon, going against the deathmatch Ratty Daddy in Cole Radrick. And this was a very good match. I was very looking forward to this one being the deathmatch as well, because Cole Radrick has been going nuts in his deathmatch wrestling. He's showing he belongs there. He's bringing his creative wrestling artistic style to these death matches, and that's one of the main reasons I love Alex Colon as a deathmatch wrestler and a regular wrestler, because he's very creative. He knows what he's doing with these light tubes, and he knows how to inflict as much punishment onto his opponents as much as he can during these matches. So I was very much looking forward to this match. I thought it was a very well done match, a very exciting match. What do you think about it, John?
First off, I wanted to mention Cologne's Tupac theme. I'm a really big fan of Tupac, so it's always nice to hear that. Light tubes are really the main weapon in this, and they were swung everywhere. I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but when it comes to Cole, he's a great bleeder on the head, and it looks great when he bleeds on the face. He gets hit, he bleeds, he likes to look at the camera, he likes to stare at the fans. He's got a great face for someone who looks stunned that they've been injured. So that was really just impressive to see all that. He took a brunt of the punishment during this, especially for the first half of the match. So, I mean, he's really coming into his own as a deathmatch wrestler. Some people may not know or are just starting to get into GCW, and they may not know that he originally wasn't a deathmatch wrestler. So this was something where he came to GCW and he was really putting himself on the map originally just as a wrestler. And he had a match. I can't look back off the top of my head on which match he had, but he went into a death match and he just lit it up. He had the look, he had the style, and then he just came into his own with this. And he's one that I can say who is bringing wrestling to the deathmatch scene.
And that match you're talking of is when he stepped up to the plate, and I forgot who he filled in for, but it was against Orin Veidt in Atlantic City and at the Showboat. And that crowd was Ratty Daddy 100% behind him, and he played up to the crowd. Like how you said, his facial reactions whenever he reacts to getting hit, that tells a great story. Him showing like, hey, I'll cut myself just for your guys' entertainment and to prove to you guys I belong here. And that match with Orin Veidt was what kind of elevated him in my eyes to the deathmatch scene, and in a lot of other people's eyes, I think, as well. And Alex Colon started off this match, was like, hey, you're on a roll, but I'm still the king around here. There's a new king. Sorry, Nick Gage, but the new king of ultraviolent deathmatch wrestling is Alex Colon, and he's proven that this year. And I think this was his way of showing Cole, is like, hey, you're awesome. You have a good future, but tonight's not your night. Like, he just took Cole behind the woodshed and just hit him with light tube after light tube, and it was bloody, as it typically was or would be in a death match, but all that blood was coming from Cole. Like, Colon was pretty clean for the first part of the match, and then once finally Cole was able to recover from the initial onslaught by Alex Colon, Cole ended up taking the advantage, hitting Alex Colon with his creative cutter moves through light tubes and dropping him on the outside through light tubes. Like, Cole took a while to find his footing, but he found it halfway through this match.
Yeah, that's why I was saying earlier, it was very light tubey. You saw a lot of light tubes flying left or right. Again, this is a situation where Colon came out with the win, but Cole really came out looking solid. Looks like he could take some punishment. Cole's still getting his feet underneath him every now and then. You can see that perfectly fine. At one point, you can see Cole's arm did get injured at the very end of that match. And you can see right after they took the 1, 2, 3, he's looking at his left arm and he's looking at that injury. So it was bad enough that they actually wrapped up his arm in a towel and then they went ahead and walked him to the back.
Yes, and especially after what happened just a couple nights ago with Hoodfoot, you got to take every precaution, because we love these wrestlers. Like, we might not like them all and there's certain styles and boo them and stuff, but we paid for them to be there to entertain us, and at the very end we always want them to be healthy and come out of each match and well enough to perform for us and live to fight another day. And luckily Cole seemed to be all right. He went to the hospital that night. I think he posted like he got stitches on his arm, and Cole will be all right. He needs a little bit more. You can see in his deathmatch style, I think his brain is going way faster than his body wants to, because all his creativity that he brings to his normal style wrestling, he's trying to incorporate it into the deathmatch scene. And for the most part, he's doing good. But I think when he's gets his mind going and he's just like trying to go through all these moves, I think that costs those little hiccups that he has in executing those moves helps out his opponent, and Alex Colon took full advantage of this to defeat the Ratty Daddy and once again retain his Ultraviolet title.
Yeah, Cologne's being that veteran for sure. Cole is one of those people that I think, especially with his age, he's only going to get smarter. He's only going to get better. He's nowhere near his peak. He's got a long way to go. I think he's another one that he's going to be around for a long time. We're really gonna see some crazy matches out of him down the road. I really do feel, again, this was really to push Cole. Colon was in there doing his thing. However, we always expect him to do his thing, and same thing, he delivered. He went out there, kicked some ass. I'm really happy that this was the main event. It was really nice to see a solid 16 minutes of ass kicking out of both of them.
Yes, and going back to what you said, like Cole's finding his footing, and based off his age, just so how we have the young pillars in the tag division of Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver, I think Cole Radrick is definitely a young pillar that's going to hold up that GCW Ultraviolet division, or their deathmatch division, whatever you want to call it. He's going to be there, and he's going to be one of the pillars as GCW moves forward in these next few years.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And that caps off another memorable GCW Gateway to Death as they make their St. Louis debut. My big takeaway from the night is the Tony Depp and Nick Wayne. I like seeing Nick Wayne going against the Gatekeeper, but I don't use it in a derogatory form when talking about Tony Deppen being the Gatekeeper. He's saying, hey, you want to be in GCW, you got to prove you can handle me. And it's not like, hey, you beat me, you're better than me. It's, hey, you showed what you got, but I'm going to bring the best out of you. And he definitely brought the best out of Nick Wayne, especially after they both just main evented the prior two events the weekend before. So it was like seeing them have a match against each other, keeping them in everyone's mind, and setting up a possible title shot for one of them down the line. So that was my memorable moment. What do you think about the event, John?
Okay, you're going to kill me. I may have a couple memorable moments here. One I'm just going to do shortly is the alley catch situation. You know, she ate that boot. She busted her lip. It's unfortunate. Again, Scorpio really did do everything he could outside of stitching her on the spot. So much respect to that. Also, I wanted to say that Davey Richards' quote would probably be my highlight of the night, damn near, outside of any other wrestling things. I really think it's a quotable quote. I really think that it's nice that we have that on tape, and I really think it can be used down the road in various other promos. Joey Janela putting on an actual wrestling match instead of a gimmick or a street fight style match. I thought that was great. And then also Cole establishing his deathmatch credibility slowly by taking all of these matches as they go. There were a lot of single matches tonight. I learned that after watching this show that I actually prefer more of the GCW 3-man, 4-person, 6-person, scrambles even as a personal preference. And I'm starting to realize that maybe those multiple person matches are part of the GCW magic.
Yes, and I love seeing the scrambles, the death matches, the trios death matches, the straight one-on-one see who's better matches, the tag matches. They bring a lot of variety in their matches. I love to see it. I think one reason we didn't get a lot more of those multi-person matches is because of the travel issues. I know, like we were talking about the other day, there's a lot of people made it. At least Joey made it out this time finally, but I think the travel issues hurt a lot with that. But just like they always do, GCW just finds a way to put on magic for their fans at home in the arena. And just like a GCW, they always say, it just keeps on going and going and fucking going. And we made that magic work tonight.
I remember that on Twitter for sure that it was just all lit up with, talent pissed off because they couldn't get to where they needed to go. And it was all airline related. Normally somebody complains about a car breaking down or, something like that. But this was just airlines, airlines, airlines. KG didn't make the show that we talked about on our last podcast. People were missing this one. I don't know how much, but we still have COVID going on, and that's a real problem right now, still for a lot of people. I really just am happy that we got what we got out of this. There were quite a few firsts that night. It was not what I expected out of Cole. It was not what I expected out of Janela, and it was really welcome to see.
Yes, and GCW doesn't let any of those side pieces that could distract them with the problems that they had with the airlines, the injuries, the COVID, or whatever. They always find a way to make really good stuff out of really shitty situations. And this weekend, those two events that we covered the last couple days are proof of that. They just will keep on going, and they just will never keep on going. And just like GCW, we are not done yet. We are going to keep on going and fucking going. And we are going to covering another GCW event in this episode. You are getting a double action, double packed, double event coverage in this show. Woo. And we are going to be covering the Rock and Roll Express's farewell match at GCW. And starting part 2 of our GCW Plant podcast, we are going to be covering the Rock and Roll Forever event that happened on Sunday, July 3rd in Evansville, Indiana at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. And we start the night off with a singles match of Calvin Tankman going against Big Breakfast, the East Coast Ace, the Clout Cutter, Jordan Oliver. And once again, this is not a small man that Calvin Tankman's going in, as Jordan is pretty tall, but based off of the muscles that Tankman's kind of used to fighting against when he fights these bigger, stronger people, Jordan Oliver was a good mix of strength as well as his agility and technical ability. And he showed both in this match against Tankman to try to take the advantage over Tankman, as Tankman is a bigger, stronger guy, as we saw just a couple nights prior going against Ninja Mac. And what do you think of this match so far, John?
I really think that, well, since we're talking about Tankman for a couple minutes, if you go back and look, Tankman's lariat looks great. I know, obviously, the person who's on the receiving end of that really helps. Jordan made his lariats look awesome. Jordan can sell lariats and punches really well. He did it really good in this match. His Cloud Cutter that he put over Tankman for the win, that Cloud Cutter is, you wonder why he has that name. That's exactly why he has that nickname.
Yes, and Tankman, doesn't matter who you are, whenever he lariats you, he's going to make you feel it and make you look crazy doing it, because he is a strong motherfucker and he always demonstrates his strength, and he definitely did it for the majority of this match against Jordan. Jordan was on his back and trying to stay away from Tankman's strength, and luckily Oliver has a couple different finishing moves lately. We've seen him use the Orange Crush. We've seen him when he finally learned how to perfect the Boston Crab. He uses that occasionally. Great. And in this match, the only finisher that he could have possibly used to win the match would be the Clout Cutter, and luckily that's his go-to finisher. He hits Tankman with the Clout Cutter for the victory, and that makes Jordan 3-0 on this weekend. Even though Tankman lost, once again, we say it all the time, Tankman loses, but in the end, I don't think he's a loser. He comes out looking strong as hell, looking monstrous, and keeping up his big guy kind of theme and domination over the GCW roster. Even though he can't finish it to get the victory, at least he's dominating everyone and making himself look good in the event that he loses.
Yeah, that was a solid singles opener. It just didn't disappoint whatsoever. I love watching Tankman. I want to see more of him. I would like to see him in GCW. I think we may have talked about this earlier, but Tankman is he's a lot like Hoodfoot, man. I want them both. I'd love to see a division started around those two men.
Yes, and Tankman has showed he could go against the smaller guys. He's gone against the bigger guys. We haven't really seen him dabble into the deathmatch scene or really tag matches. He's dominated during these scrambles, though, so he's shown a propensity, I don't know the word, propensity, however you say it, to adapt his style towards his opponents and towards the match style that is going on.
Yeah, I think what we're also trying to say here is that he's one of the big guys that doesn't have to have every match just being a crush. He can actually wrestle also.
Yes, and he shows all his different abilities during these matches as well, the longer the matches go. So that was a very solid opener to start the night. All right, for the second match of the night, we have Kerry Morton making his GCW debut going against Tony Deppen. And like how we talked about earlier this episode, Tony Deppen being the gatekeeper, this wasn't one of those, hey, are you welcome in GCW? Can you hang with us? This was more of, hey, you're only on this show because of your dad. And Tony Deppen made sure Kerry Morton felt that, because that was what Tony Deppen was pretty much saying to him all match. You don't deserve to be in my ring. This is my GCW. You're only here because of your dad and your dad's greatness. So this is one of those typical bad guy going against the good guy's legendary son. And hopefully the son is trying to follow their father's footsteps, as in Ricky Morton. And Kerry held his own here. Like, he showed he belonged in a ring real fast to Tony, and Tony was kind of caught off guard with that, with seeing the youngster Kerry in the ring.
Yeah, I was really enjoying the mullet on Kerry. You know, he's kind of got his dad's mullet kicking there. He came out to Poison. Don't want nothing but a good time. I thought that was cool. This was a really true back and forth, this whole match. You know, Deppen talking shit the whole time. Then he's talking shit with Kerry's dad, Ricky. Ricky's on the stage talking shit back. They're giving motions towards each other. Heel Deppen at his best, man. I really enjoyed that.
Is there any other kind of Tony Deppen other than a heelish Tony Deppen, though?
That's the best one. That's all I can say. Yeah, the point here was really to put over Kerry. I also think it was to just kind of push Kerry to his limits and really kind of stretch him out and make him a more complete performer over time. Is there anything else kind of you can think about it to mention?
Nope. Tony does a very good job, as we were saying earlier, taking these wrestlers to the deep end and seeing, hey,
yes,
can you sink or swim? Like, I don't think this was necessarily that kind of match for Tony. I think this was more of, hey, I'm going to make my name off of your name because your name is being made off of your father's name. And I think that was a way of Tony trying to get his momentum back after the loss to Moxley, the loss to Nick Wayne. So I think this was Tony Deppen's time to say, hey, this is my ring. This is my stage. Even though this show is about your dad, this show is not about you. This is my show. This is my GCW. And he had a very nice technical match with Ricky. Ricky showed off what he can bring to the ring, but at this moment, not quite enough there to beat Tony Deppen, as Tony Deppen once again uses his underhanded tactics, rolls up Kerry, and then uses the ropes to win the match. And once again, like you said, this was a good way to showcase Kerry, while also a good way of Tony getting the momentum back, getting the victory, and hopefully using that victory further maybe rematch against Jon Moxley later on down the road for that GCW title.
Yeah, you know, this was just kind of funny to hear that, you know, Deppen's yelling, carry this, carry that. He doesn't want to give Kerry any attention, but, you know, when someone yells, carry this, carry that, all they're hearing is carry, carry, carry. And I think that was really what they wanted to do in this situation, and Deppen really put him over well.
Yes, nice solid match. Good follow-up to the Tankman and Jordan match. Coming up next, we had our third match of the night of Nick Wayne going against Axton Ray. And I was very excited to see this. As we were talking about earlier, Axton Ray is one of these wrestlers where I'm thinking he's must-see because of his creativity and the range that he's shown in his wrestling. He's able to do the high-flying, the muscle stuff. He's got really good technical prowess, and like I always fall back on his creativity. I love seeing the creative spots I've never seen before, and he is doing it right now. Nick Wayne, on the role that he's been on. So seeing these two interact with each other in a ring, I was very looking forward to seeing this match. And it didn't deliver, or it didn't disappoint. It definitely delivered, even though they didn't get much time to work with. They used that time very well, and it used all their moves and got the crowd behind them during this match, and kind of helped pick up the card after Tony Depp and put them all in a sour mood of beating the hometown heroes boy. So this was a good match to kind of get the crowd back into it after that asshole Tony put them all down.
Yeah, this was a 9-minute match. There was a lot crammed into 9 minutes. Both men were doing what they could with what they had in time. The match went inside and outside of the ring. It was incredible how quick it could flip at just a moment's time. Axton, as we were kind of talking before, extremely athletic, nice bulky look to him. He went well up against the more slender look that Nick has. Excuse me. Both are really young performers. Both are future stars. 15 years from now, these two could meet up and still not be 40 years old each.
That's scary to think about too.
Right.
We have this feud for a long time, hopefully.
Oh man, and they both sell well, so it doesn't matter if it's offense or defense, it looks good. Axton was primarily in control for a majority of the match. He had a really he was a decent, unique move set. I don't know, maybe 8 to 10, maybe even 12 moves that are in his set that you really don't see too often anywhere else.
And they make sense too. He's not just doing these moves just because he wants to do it and can and do something flashy. Like, he's doing something that is creative with a purpose to it and has reasoning behind it. And he has delivered every single one of those moves. And each move, I'm like, what is he? Oh, okay, that made sense. And with the creativeness of it, he's using that to not distract his opponents, but like surprise his opponents because they never seen that move either. So they don't know how to react to it. So I love seeing Axton in the ring. These two, cannot wait to see it. Nick Wayne, and we were talking about Axton being bulky and athletic for his size. Nick Wayne's growing. Like, I've noticed, especially on these Jordan matches, as he's wrestled with Jordan since he's at such a young age, he's only going to get bigger and bigger, and he's going to fill into his body. And I'm interested to see how much that takes away from his athleticism, or he's just going to use that and even become more athletic and more creative and more dominant than he's been lately.
That's a good one. It's going to kind of be a toss-up. Part of it's going to be up to a matter of how much hard work these guys are going to want to put in. Because let's be honest, as we get 30, 40, it really does come down to how much hard work you put into it. Your body can only do so much, and you can only work with so much your body gives you. But as long as these guys keep putting in the hard work they're going to do, I mean, for crying out loud, same thing, man. I can't see a dim future with either of these guys.
Yep. The GCW their future is bright, and Axton Ray being another one of these guys just comes out of nowhere. It's like, hey, I would like to see a lot more of him, and the more he gets to showcase his talents, the more we're going to see of him, hopefully, and show why he maybe be the next pillar of the GCW wrestling. They got so many pillars. It's going to be a nice, sturdy building that their GCW is building right now, and I don't see GCW going away from that. And once again, another reason why I love watching them. They're giving all these people that might not know unless you're in that local area, going back to the main event, going back to Waves and Curls, being in New York. I haven't seen much of them other than what I've seen in other promotions, which is still not a lot, as I mostly watch GCW. But now that I've seen them on GCW, I'm going to go out of my way to watch them. And Axton Ray is definitely one of those wrestlers I'm going to be doing that too.
GCW definitely does a lot to kind of push us out into making sure we see other companies. I mean, you see FE once, you're going to want to see FE somewhere else. And, if you're only catching them once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks on the GCW show, it really is nice to see him once, two, sometimes for some of us 3 or 4 times a week, just so we can get that FE in. And you don't have to say FE. You can fill in that line with any name whatsoever. I'm looking for Oliver on the indie scenes. I'm looking for Cole on the indie scenes.
I can't wait to watch Nick when he starts getting some more AEW time as well. So, and going back to what KG said and kind of what you said, the world needs some more FE. If there was more FE in the world would be a better place. For the fourth match of the evening, we have the Graveheart, Blake Christian, going against the Iron Demon himself in Shane Mercer. And when I first saw this matchup, I was pretty excited. I wanted to see how Blake would adapt his style towards someone like Shane Mercer, who is strong, is powerful, but has also shown the agility, has shown his deathmatch prowess in the last few matches. Something Blake Christian we haven't seen much of, and we see him resort to those kind of tactics near the end of this match as he gets a little frustrated that he can't put away Shane Mercer. But I was interested in this match, and it was a very good clash of styles. Once again, another kind of GCW staple, putting two people that have two different styles in a match together and letting their creative styles work together and create magic. So I enjoy this match. What did you think about it, John?
I think Blake had a lot of high-flying offense in this one. There was a lot of kicks also. Living up to the true new Graveheart style, the fans were not behind Blake at all. And we talked about his record earlier where he only had 3 losses. You figure the fans would really be behind a guy with a darn near perfect record? No, he's really in his full heel mode, and he's playing it to the best of his ability. And then on Shane's side, I really gave him a lot of respect because if you could see it in the beginning of the match there, his left shoulder and his arm, they were all tore up. And, you know, he was healing from the show the night before. So I give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit anyway overall because it's not like you can see a lot of powerhouse type wrestlers do backflips, let alone do backflips with full grown men in their arms. So I know a backflip doesn't make you wonderful, but that's just one example of some of the things he can do that you generally don't see out of powerhouses.
Yes, when he does that salt and battery, the moonsault and battery finish that he does, like you don't get that strength and that kind of agility in one package, and he definitely exudes it, and that's why I was interested in this match to see how Blake Christian would fare with it, and he struggled with it. He had a lot of offense and was getting it in, but he couldn't quite put the big man away, and he had to resort to using the tables, the chairs, and that's not Blake Christian's wheelhouse, and that's kind of what I was saying on our previous episode is I'm kind of interested if he goes up when Blake Christian goes against Moxley. Moxley will do whatever is needed to win, while Blake Christian hasn't really shown he would go into the little death matches and the tables and the chairs. So this was kind of maybe like a little preview of Blake saying, hey, I can do this, Moxley. I'm ready for whatever you're ready to throw at me. And like you said, the fans weren't behind Blake. I think that's showing the fans are saying, hey, we want Moxley as our champion. We don't want Blake Christian as our champion. Just like our homegrown talent. They were all for Tony, which is you got the heel of heels in Tony Deppen, but the crowd was cheering for him, and Blake can't quite get the reaction that he wants from the crowd and get the momentum from the crowd to help him get over that next hump to be in the main event status. So maybe Blake's gonna start showing some more underhanded tactics and trying to show that he's willing to do anything he wants to win these matches.
Yeah, I think that's going to come with the territory. Blake really is going to go full heel on this. I really hope that he does a deep dive. We were talking about this, I think, off camera earlier. I think we even mentioned it maybe on the show beforehand, but I want to see that deep dive in character. I would love to see him change the hair up. You know, he comes out with the black pants, but he still has the brown jacket. I'd like to see that jacket turn into a leather jacket or a black jacket. I mean, I'd really like to see him sink into the character even more. So I want to see how deep he's willing to take that. If he's taken that character and he feels that's a good idea, I want to see how good that idea is. I really want to stretch him out. Overall, it was a really good brawl. There was a lot of GCW chants. That's always great to hear. That means everybody's happy.
Yes.
Who ended up winning this one? I don't have that one in my notes. I'm so sorry. That was Blake, right?
Yep. Blake Christian continues his hot streak.
Okay.
He ends up hitting what I'm calling the grave stomp through Mercer, through a door. And as we were talking about with the fans and Blake, he changed his name to Graveheart. Wouldn't that be a little bit heelish, a little bit more darker? The pain that maybe Blake has suffered over maybe, let's say, the last year of not just in GCW, but in other companies. Maybe he's trying to use that pain and get to his actual black heart and going to use that pain to make him be more, how do I want to say it? Make it more underhanded tactics and showing that, like, hey, I have this in me. I just hasn't been brought out. And maybe this was his match where he started to use the tables and chairs to start to show that grave heart of his a little bit more.
Yeah, I really think this is a situation where I would like to see him cut more promos so that we can actually get a little more of a clearer picture of why he's upset or why he changed. I know there was a little promo that he did cut a while back where he was burying his character primarily. And I think that more promos would kind of clear up why a man who's so successful this year is so mad. I would
Yes.
like to know exactly how someone could do so well in a company like GCW and have that axe to grind. So I would like to get a little more focus on who he is and what the hell kind of problem he has.
You said the magic word is why. I don't want to hear who you want to go against. Of
Yes.
course, everybody wants to go against the Garganos, the Moxleys, whoever else you want to name that has a name on the indie scene. Every wrestler wants that matches. But why do
Yes.
you deserve it? Why do you want it? Why do you want it here in GCW? Why are you not going after the GCW wrestlers? Why are you calling out other wrestlers from other companies? You got plenty of talent to face here that you still need to prove yourself. And he's done a very good job, obviously, with getting all these wins this year since he's been back. But you still got some other names to defeat if you want to go through the whole GCW locker room, in my opinion, before you start calling out outsiders into the GCW world. That's just my opinion on it, though. But hopefully we'll see more of the why Blake has his grave heart now instead of his all heart.
Yeah, on my side, I'm at a point where as long as he makes a clear why, I don't mind who the hell he goes after, as long as he does his best to deliver what he says he's going to deliver, and those shows keep coming out as Blake Christian shows.
Next match of the night is a 6-man tag match. And of course, usually when there's a 6-man tag match, SGC is involved. And we had SGC this time of Manders, Warner, and Justice going against what they call themselves the Blood Fighters in Akira, Alex Colon, and Dale Patricks. And this was a match probably that Evansville has never seen before because they all came here to see the Ricky Morton and the Rock and Roll Express, their farewell match. But I don't think they've seen much of SGC in action in North Carolina. So do you want to go over what kind of action they saw in North Carolina, John?
I don't know if Evansville has ever seen 6 men brawling in the balcony at one time, but they did get a chance to see that. I don't think they had a chance to ever see the 6 men all in the ring at the same time with 3 broken doors, each man with a broken door in hand and fighting beating the shit out of each other with these broken doors. This match was really the first match that the crowd was really fired up. There were a lot of GCW chants in this one. This is one of those times where SGC really came into this building, and when they arrived, the people know that it was time to have fun.
And to steal a quote, ain't no party like a SGC party because a SGC party do not stop, and they will party in the ring. They will party after their match. They will party before the match, and they will just let loose. And they have definitely brought North Carolina a new set of eyes in the deathmatch scene, and not really deathmatch scene with the Blood Fighters being in there, but the absolute craziness and the fun and the chaos that SGC brings to every GCW show.
These guys highlight every time. I mean, I don't even care who they fight half the time. I just want to see their name on the card, and as long as their name's on the card, oof. And they're really hard to see outside of GCW.
Yes.
So seeing them in a GCW ring, if you can get them in the ring, is a real treat.
Yes, that environment is perfect for them. And like you said, they don't even need a ring. You just play their music, let them come out, feed off the crowd, and then, all right, we don't need a ring. Let's just start the fight out here at the bar, in the balcony, in the fans' lap. They just want to fight and party. And we got the Justice dive from the balcony once again. This one looked a little bit higher than the night before, but Justice was showing like, hey, that's going to be his little spot now. He's going to throw caution to the wind and let it fly every time he's flying through the air, and hopefully he's crashing down against an opponent on the outside.
Yeah, the last thing I do want to mention about this match, it's before the match actually went off. I kind of have a little pride in this because it's our boy Colon. It really looks good when Colon is coming out with 2 belts. You know, you got the GCW Ultraviolent, you got the TNT Extreme Division Champ. I love watching these guys come out like peacocks. They got their freaking feathers out. They're like, look at this. Here's the show, man. You know, and I had a chance to actually talk to Colon personally before. Nice as hell. I mean, nice as hell. Good man, looks you right in the eyes. He has a very, he's just excited, especially after his matches. He's got adrenaline running. Cool as hell. He spent time talking to me. Yeah, I'm behind this man. I've seen what he's done. I know that inside the ring, he's awesome to watch. Outside the ring, nice as hell. I don't have a bad thing to say about any of these guys.
And I like seeing him team up with Akira, because we all know Akira kind of always looked up to Cologne, especially when Akira made his debut. First match he wanted in GCW was Cologne, and he got it at at Nick Gage Invitational, almost a year ago now, but a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing him team up with Akira, who he's had issues with, but also he just wrestled Del Patricks a couple nights prior, and now he's teaming up with Del Patricks, and I love seeing Del Patricks in the GCW arena as well. And like, it just shows the depth that's out there in the deathmatch scene, and it shows that we always talk about the tag titles, the tag division, but they're slowly building a little trios division, if you want to call it that, with the 6-man matches they've been doing with SGC. Now these Blood Fighters. You have out there the Los Macisos and Jimmy Lloyd. You have Effie, Bussy, and they'll pick up another member to join their group. And now you got another trios. Like, they have all this talent that they're gathering everywhere they go to display, like, hey, we can do trios, death matches, 6-man, single. Like, they're creating a very nice roster, and while not be a regular roster, you're going to see fresh faces every night and give all these people another platform to display their greatness. And the new wrestlers that are showing up at GCW, like Dale Patrick's, earned himself another night based off his performance against Cologne. So I love seeing the Blood Fighters, as they call them, Akira, Cologne, and Dale Patrick, working together as a team. Unfortunately, they had to go through SGC, and of course, SGC picks up the win with Manser hitting the DDT, Justice flying off the top rope, and then Manders power slamming Akira for the win.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say one last thing if we have a chance to here. I am 100% behind you on getting some more belts in the company, maybe one, maybe two. The reason why I'm big on the belts is, number one, we have such a depth of talent in the indie scene right now that you can bring anyone in from anywhere right now, slap a team together, maybe do a 3-way, whatever you need to do. There's so many people out there that can deliver. That belt could travel. And that's another thing, is the part of me that really thinks about the business side says, I would love to have my belt show up in this company and this company and this company. You know, it's okay maybe to think about having a belt that may be a traveling belt every now and then, and a source of pride for quite a few wrestlers, maybe even get them a little more money on the back end. But I just wanted to make sure I added a little bit about those belts, because I'm a big fan of belts. So many people out there, man. We got to get some gold out to some people.
For sure. And it gives the matches that these title holders are in more credibility, more exposure. And like you said, that Ultraviolet Championship, just not too long ago, Takeda had it, and he's out there in Japan holding it. And GCW was able to use some of the footage that Takeda had representing GCW as the Ultraviolet Champion in Japan. They were able to use some of that footage here in America. And as soon as he showed up to America, he put that belt on the line, and Alex Colon ended up defeating him in the NGI tournament for the belt. But with that belt being overseas, if you had another belt in your company, let's say the Extreme belt, well, that was kind of inactive for the longest time until PCO brought it back. But you have a couple of these belts that are inactive, and I know Brett really loves to, like, hey, our champion is a champion until they lose it. We're not defending, we're not going to strip them of it. We're not going to put up an interim belt. Like, their champion is a champion, but if your champion's not wrestling right now, as in the Extreme champion right now, he's not wrestling, we're not seeing the Extreme title being defended on TV. And lately, while it was on TV, the last few events, they were being defended in a scramble match. Not really in an extreme environment, other than it being a GCW environment, but Usos make a scramble title. So that way, hey, we might not have any title match. Our world champion, John Moxley's not available for these next couple shows. But now you can elevate the titles that you have now and make them more predominant and give him a better space on the card and make it worth something. So that way, when Moxley does come back and wrestle as the GCW champion, you still have another credible champion there to pick up the slack whenever these wrestlers aren't there to defend the belts.
Yeah, I think a couple more belts would really add to a little bit more of the excitement too. We see sometimes 1, 2, maybe 3 title defenses, maybe, one from outside the company comes in. But from a perspective of a fan, when you look at a card that has on average 8 to 9 matches, if 3 or 4 of those matches have title defenses on it, oh boy. And then it just becomes exciting to find out who's coming in to try to take that belt. It's like anything else, that championship, that belt really does create just a little bit of extra excitement.
It creates the drama, it creates the storylines, and that gets the fans invested. It gives more wrestlers, another opportunity to raise their value and becoming a GCW champion. It doesn't have to necessarily be the world title, but these new belts are possibly, I would like to see the scramble belt. And if they keep on doing these trio matches, I definitely want to see a trios belt here too. And like I said, make that the main event of the night, and it gives it that main event feel, and it raises those wrestlers that are wrestling for that title. Hey, they're in the main event for this title, and at least the fans, when they show up, they want to see the belts. When they don't see anybody with the belt, they're like, well, okay, what's so special about him? He's not a champion. But then you see Cologne come out here, and not only is he a GCW champion, he wrestles over in England. I believe TNT's in England. He's over there in England defending the Ultraviolent Championship, and he's a TNT championship. So it just helps everybody involved, is my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. I just really think that when it comes down to the talk about another championship, that really does roll into our next match.
Yes, for sure. Next match of the night is a 6-way scramble between Nate Webb, Alec Price, Carter Gray, Jimmy Lloyd, Larry D, and Yo-Ya. And Larry D got his nice little chance here coming from Impact Wrestling. I think this is his GCW debut. I don't remember ever seeing him in a GCW ring, but GCW's always has debuts every week. There's multiple people debuting. So nice of the crowd, though, to recognize Larry D, give him the love. This was a nice short scramble with a lot of chaoticness going on, as the typical 6-way scrambles are. John, I would like for you to explain to us what KG was saying on commentary about Yo-Ya, as I must have missed it. I must have been sneezing or coughing, but I have seen it in your notes, and I definitely want to hear you say these words that KG spit out of his mouth.
So you had a long sneeze when you heard, look at the size on Yo-Ya. Then you hear, he's Yo-Ya, not throw-ya. Then we have Noya. Then we have nice Nonya. So that's yeah.
Yo-Ya has been getting killed on commentary these last couple of weeks with his name. You got Nick Gage calling him Yo-Yo all weekend. Then you have now KG saying he's a Yo-Ya, not throw-ya. Like, that killed me. When I saw that on the notes, I was like, how did I miss that? And I will now have to go back and rewatch that match just for the KG commentary.
Yeah, this is one of those. This kind of links into another thing we were talking earlier, where even just sitting there making the jokes on Yo-Ya's name is just getting really good attention on Yo-Ya. And yeah, they're just really behind him 100%. I'm really hoping that eventually we get behind Alec Price from the minute he came from the back all the way till he went back after the match. He was constantly drawing heel heat from as many people as he can. He came out to that ring talking in people's faces. It didn't matter if it was the biggest guy. I saw him up there against a really tall guy, just running his mouth. He don't care. He's got years to go. I like the way he talks. I think his body needs to fill out, and he's going to be one hell of a package for a wrestler.
Yes, and I remember when he made his GCW debut going against Jordan Oliver, there was a lot of comparisons there of Jordan's had his last couple years in GCW making his run, and then now Alex Price stepped in and went against him. And I remember KG making a lot of comparisons to a younger Jordan Oliver is what he sees in Alec Price, and I see it too. And I remember when that match was happening, I'm like, don't you dare compare Jordan Oliver and Alec Price. They're two separate people. But the more I've seen Alec Price, he is definitely has the package of being an awesome heel, calling the people garbage. He's got it easy out there. His accent, while it is predominant with it, he's using it perfectly to get that heel reaction from the fans. And anytime you hear that reaction or that accent, you're going to get like, what did he just say? What did they say? And then you're automatically going to get the boos, because the Boston accent is very mockable. So Alec Price is here to stay. He has definitely proven that over these last few months in GCW wrestling, but especially this weekend, getting to travel with the crew and stuff. So it is very nice seeing Alec Price, getting a lot more attention in the GCW crowd.
So then I got one here for you. Would Alec Price be Dungan? Do you think he's young, dumb, and broke? Do you think Alec Price would be in that atmosphere? Or could be? I could see them plugging him in for a match.
I like it. I could see going back to trios action. Hey, throw him in with the Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver. Like, yes, you're going to have two kind of faces, and you got the little natural heel in Alec Price, but maybe Jordan could convert Alec and not be so young, dumb, and broke, as Jordan has seemed to matured from his young, dumb, and broke eras while still giving love to his young, dumb, and broke crew. And he's still always repping Charlie Tiger, Griffin McCoy, and Ellis Taylor. He's still always out there, but hey, what's another extra person? The more backup you have, especially in the GCW arena or the events, and you got SGC out there just causing chaos, I would want all the backup I could get, and Alex Price would be a nice little fit there with Young, Dumb, and Broke. I like that opinion there very much. Didn't see it at first, did not like it when I first saw Alex Price, but I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I had to hit you with that unprepared just for fun. Sit on it for a little bit, but I'm telling you, I think he's young, dumb, and broke a couple years ago. I think if he was 4 years older and it happened back then, I think that he would have fit really well. His personality, you're right, the persona of who he is right now probably wouldn't have fit very well with them. Converting him, he might be able to take that garbage attitude and turn it into an attitude, just an attitude. Like Young, Dung, and Broke comes out and boom, they have an attitude, and he's the one who always has to yell at the fans, and he just can't hold his shit in. You know, matches go crazy. He's the one that has to yell and get the fans going. Again, it's going too far maybe with it, but at the same time, I could see him having some likenesses with a younger Jordan Oliver too.
Yeah, and it's a point that I would like to see maybe one day, just to kind of see how they would act, because very similar, but it'd be interesting, very interesting seeing those two interact as well as with a team, as well as then you throw in Nick Wayne with anything and everything that he's doing now. Is be very interesting, a nice little trio match there.
Yep, I only wanted to mention here, we didn't mention too much about Larry D. We only mentioned just a little bit, but man, is he a great hoss. I wanted to mention that. I'm a Haas fan. I love to see muscle. I love to see mass moving bodies, just slinging people around. And also Nate Webb, it was just nice to see him for nostalgia purposes. He ended up winning this match, which was, you know, kind of interesting, but you know, he still covered Yo-Yo.
Yes. Unfortunately for Yo-Yo with another defeat. But going back to the Haas talk, going back to Yo-Yo losing to Tankman. I would love to see Tankman going against Larry D here sometime soon.
Oh, yeah. How about Crash Jackson? Jackson, Larry D. They're damn near the same.
Yes, get them from Pro Wrestling Revolver. Get them, work out something to get those three. Let's have, instead of a 6-man scramble with a bunch of luchadors and high flyers, let's see a 6-man Haas scramble, which we have seen in another promotion. We were at the same show, but
yeah,
we won't talk about that one on this GCW show.
Yeah, man. I think overall it was a quick scramble. I mean, 6 men, 8 minutes. Honestly, I think our commentary on the thoughts were actually longer than the match.
Yes, and it was a chaotic, hectic match, but like you said, Nate Webb covers Yo-Yo for the win and gets on the winning track. Our next match of the night is a single showcase between the Ratty Daddy himself, Cole Radrick, going against everyone's not so favorite bad boy, but everyone's bad boy instead, Joey Janela. And this was a nice change of pace match for Cole Radrick, who still was showing his scars and bruises that he obtained during his match with Alex Colon just a couple nights prior. He's still wearing that match all over, as his arm is bandaged up from that nasty cut he suffered at the end of that match. But overall, this was a nice technical in-ring masterpiece by Cole Radrick and Joey Janela, who once again shows it doesn't matter what you put in front of him, who you put in front of him, he will have a great match. And this was another showcase for Joey Janela to do just that.
Yeah, you know, I got to mention right off the bat, when Cole came out, Cole's really the hometown favorite here. He's also from Indiana, and he's not far from Evansville. The crowd was very involved in this match. There was a ton of GCW chants going on within this thing. It was Joey's birthday, and there was a happy birthday sung to Joey. But honestly, this was about putting Cole on the map in his home territory, making sure that the Cole fans are there. This was a real wrestling match. There was no frills. It didn't go into the stands. It stayed in the ring. The boots stayed on the ground. It was a really, really strong 20 minutes from both of these guys.
And Joey Janela finally got his flowers he's been asking for. The crowd sang you happy birthday, Joey. There's your flowers. Unfortunately,
Happy
you didn't get
birthday.
it from Waltman, but you will get it from this Indiana crowd. And yeah, it was a nice back and forth. Cole, once again, just doing what he does in the ring. Doesn't matter what setting you put him in. He's going to make a fun match. And him and Joey brought the best out of Cole, I believe, especially with Cole being injured. And he had a hectic weekend with all the matches he was in, too. Like, Cole stepped up his game, stepped up to the plate, and gave Joey Janela everything he can, and end up picking up the victory using Sebastian's curse for the win. And Joey Janela still kind of scrambling ever since the whole Watman incident at the Collective. He's still trying to find his bearings and get it back in that win column. But even without winning, he's elevating his name by putting on the different matches, the different styles, and showing he could put on a 25-minute classic, even though this was only 21, but close enough where he could still keep everyone's interest in a match. And that crowd was fire. They were definitely going for Cole, and Cole had the crowd behind his back, and that says a lot to Janela getting that reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, I think Cole's another one of these people that you see every now and then where he would probably be better chasing the championship than actually having it. He's just, and we talked about this earlier in the show, he's just so expressive that expression shows a lot better in hardships and, in times of pain. And in wrestling, that's just, you're going to see more on the chase with him. It's almost, and down the road, we'll talk about it, maybe not, but Adam Cole's also another guy that he's better chasing sometimes than he is actually doing it. People really want to be behind him. And I think that's happening with Cole, especially in his hometown, man. People really want to be behind him. He's a feel-good wrestler. I think that's what it is. And the other thing that really shows how things have changed is a year ago, if you told me that you were going to book almost a 22-minute match, Cole versus Janela, I don't know if I would have thought Joey could hold in wrestling for 21 minutes. And here we are today with him putting over one after another. Just delivering way more than he did even a year ago. All his efforts are showing in the ring.
Yes, and going back to Cole Radrick, why the fans are cheering for him and get behind him so easily is he's authentic. Like, none of his movements, expressions, mannerisms is forced. Like, he is himself, even if he sometimes looks like the dorky kid in a wrestling ring having fun. And he's like, oh, I'm surrounded by these legends. He is that person. He is having fun. And just, he's showing it. And that's what I think a lot of the fans, myself included, I've gone out here in Vegas. I've gone to a special show, local show, just to go see Cole Radrick because how authentic he is, and seeing him outside of a GCW setting, you get even more authenticity from him because he's that way 24/7. He's in there having fun, cutting himself. He's out there showing all the blood. He's loving the blood. It's bringing out another side of him. I think the authenticity of him is a big reason of why he has the fans behind him as well as he does right now.
Yeah, same thing we'll have to talk about later, but I only have a couple large size things behind me.
Oh.
One of them literally has Cole Radrick in the center. I had a chance to talk to him also at the Las Vegas show, and I can tell you that you want to talk about just kind, nice, no ego. He's got time for you. I mean, I even got a hug from him on the way out. Like, you don't get that with a lot of these tough guys, but I mean, just downright as nice as can be. And sometimes you don't always want to meet your heroes, or you don't always meet these famous people, or you don't want to, I mean, these guys too, in their own way, they have camera time. They are kind of famous. And you have this, this thought process in your head of how they're going to be. And Effie, especially, and several others, but Cole, yeah, they were exactly what I expected to be, and then some. And that made me even more a fan of all of those.
And like you said, when we interact with them, most of the time it's after their match, especially Cole Radrick's like, hey, he just got done with the death match and he's still all cut up and bloody and has everything on him, and he's got to go travel 2 a.m. to another state and do it all over again. But he will still sit there and make the time and treat every fan as if they're his number one fan, and he will go out of his way to make sure a fan's experience is, you can't talk bad about Cole Radrick giving the fans a bad experience. In the ring, out of the ring, he is always like that, and it's a lot of the GCW wrestlers are. I have yet to met one that I have had anything negative to say as a person outside the ring. Like, yeah, I might diss on their characters and stuff, but there's nothing personal. It's their TV portrayal, and I know they're real human beings outside the ring. I just haven't had maybe that character I don't like. I haven't had the chance to interact with them and see, okay, yeah, you're cool. I like you. I don't care what your character is.
Yeah. Well, we're just fans, but honestly, 100% they inspire us. Yep. That's why we do what we do.
And Cole's a huge fan too. All these wrestlers are. I've seen Jordan and Nick Wayne watch each other's matches, rooting for each other, cheering each other on. I've seen Cole cheering on a match that he has no reason, has no dog in the fight, and he's still sitting there cheering GC Dub, and like turn around looking at me like, did you see that? That was crazy. Like, they're all just fans, just like how we are, and they treat us though not as just fans, they treat us as special fans.
Yeah, I haven't been to many places where I could just look around while I'm seated and there's 4 people and there's 8 people, and I'll get to it one day, but I mean, I'm peeing in the men's restroom and I'm pissing next to a WWE Hall of Famer. We'll go there one day. But I mean, somebody's over stripping off their makeup in the sink, or someone's over having some tacos outside, or someone's outside just gabbing with 4 or 5 other guys setting up a match. Like, the GCW experience is so freaking amazing. I don't have strong enough words to describe it.
One of its kind, very much one of its kind out there. And I don't think there's another company out there even close that has the fan experience as well as the actual event experience as being a fan. Like, you're not just there to watch the show, you are a part of the show. You will be involved in the show somehow, some way. So that's one experience that GCW has that is setting them, for me, light years ahead of other companies that I would like to see more companies do.
I can't say anything more but agree 100%, brother.
All right, our next match is the co-main event. We have Billy Starks going against Dark Sheik, and this was a pretty solid match. Both wrestlers definitely got their stuff in. They showed their potential. What did you think of the match, John?
You know what? Yeah, it was a solid 11.5 match. It had just enough excitement in it. You didn't want to blow out the fans for that final match. It's never a good thing. Actually, there was a couple things in here that really I wanted to point out. Sheik had a pendulum hold on Billy and was swinging her, and it's a rare move. Sheik and Billy, I don't know how much they are difference in weight wise and stuff, but I mean, Sheik was really out there swinging her. I thought that was kind of cool. Overall, Billy Starks still got the win. She looked strong. I think Sheik was out there to make sure Billy did look strong. I'm actually slowly becoming a Billy Starks fan. Mostly it's because of her upside potential. She hasn't even graduated high school, to my knowledge. Nope. And she's out there working. She's doing so much more than the average teenager at her age. She's handling, I'm guessing, a business. She's got to handle herself, traveling, her health. And there's so much going on there. Plus, there is one of the guys who likes to come with me to these shows. He is 17 and he loves Billy Starks. And so we're really looking forward to the next time we go to the show. I want to see if I can get them to meet up for a second, and I want to see if I can get a picture of him blushing. But I put her in there with several other of the wrestlers that are up and comers right now. She's another one that I think that she's building a portfolio. She has a lot of upward potential there if she keeps tapping into it. I have no doubt she's a hard worker. I can turn on wrestling damn near any night of the week, and she will be somewhere on a card. I'm not shitting you. Yep. I use IWTV.com sometimes. That's usually who I will use throughout the week because it gives me, something every night. Damn near every night. Billy Starks is on that card. I gotta respect that. And as long as she's young, she might as well work her ass off because it's going to pay dividends 5, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I don't even want to know what a Billy Starks would look like. But I'll tell you what, it'll be goddamn dangerous, man.
Yes, she's taking advantage of that summer vacation schedule since she's out of school right now. So she's getting all the work and experience in during that time, and it's showing in her in-ring work. She's improved every single match, and a lot of the stuff I say about Nick Wayne, you could easily say the stuff about her. She's had some of her dream matches. She's delivered in those dream matches. She's had a lot of big
Yes.
spots on matches where they're kind of asking her to carry the match, and hey, you're going to be kind of the vocal point of this card, and she's stepped up to the plate every time, just like how Nick Wayne has. And them being so young, as we always keep on saying, this wrestling's future is in very, very good hands, injury barring and any other stupid things that could possibly happen in this world. The wrestling industry is in very good hands, and GCW is doing a very good job of exposing these wrestlers to a bigger fan base and a bigger audience than they normally would have, especially being a 16-year-old. There's about 4 or 5 wrestlers I could name that are under the age of 18, and 3 of them I've seen on GCW on almost a regular basis, or like have you said, on almost any other indie promotion throughout any night of the week. So them getting this experience with the different wrestlers, the different work rates, the different styles of matches, it's only going to be a positive for these young wrestlers, and GCW's helping them get that exposure and experience.
You know, I know we didn't talk much about Sheik. I have tons of great things to say about Sheik. Sheik's another one where if there's a GCW card, you're going to see Sheik on it. She really hit the scenes quite a few months, maybe even close to a year ago. And I don't think anyone knew how to take her in the beginning because the move set that she was using was so different and unique. And then it took a couple shows, and just like a lot of these performers that catch fire in GCW, it really does seem like something snaps and they get it and they just take off. And Sheik is still just one of those people that I think they're still on that upward rise. Dark Sheik is 1 or 2 solid matches, maybe with Janela or Deppen, away from maybe becoming a little more established. Sheik is always constantly working too. I didn't want to take anything away from Sheik. It was just Billy Starks. This seemed to be her match this time. And I wanted to make sure I spent a little time talking about Billy, her future, and the small crush that my family has on her.
Yeah,
not my family, but the 17-year-old.
Going off of like what you said though, where we were talking about Billy being every night you can see her now. Sheik's like that on the West Coast. You can see her at the UGLA shows. Yeah. You can see her at the FSW shows, the Grap House shows, any other West Coast, any Prestige. She's out there doing all these stuff and doing all the West Coast promotion. So she's killing it on the West Coast. And like you said, this was a night though of she was the perfect opponent for Billy. She helped elevate Billy while still looking strong like how she normally does. And she had a great match, and it was a nice solid match leading up to our main event of the evening. And in our main event of the night, we have the Rock and Roll Express going against the Rejects of John Wayne Murdoch and Reed Bentley. And for me, there's not much other things to say about this match. It was a nice little farewell match. I find it very interesting and appealing to me as a GCW fan that the Rock and Roll Express would, out of all the any wrestling, not even just independent wrestling promotions, but out of any promotions, they could have decided to have their last match and anyone would have gave them that platform. They chose the GCW platform and they chose to do it at the Rock and Roll Forever. So I thought that was just cool. It shows the respect that GCW has earned from a lot of these legends that keep on popping up in GCW, and it shows that GCW recognizes their roots, the wrestlers that they're wrestling recognize their roots, and GCW gave them that platform to say goodbye to the fans at one of their venues that they're world famous for, and it was just very nice seeing them getting the respect from GCW and the GCW crowd to have their farewell match for the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah. What I started to notice right off the bat was the Rejects came out as heels. The problem is, personally, it's hard for me to hate Murdoch.
Yes.
I've spoken another one I've spoken to. He's nice as all get out. If you have a chance, go over to iwtv.com because there's a documentary on him. I'm just saying it only because it's really applicable. I sat down with my wife. I said, look at this guy. He's a real guy. He's one of the first ones I met because I saw he's like me. He has a family. He has animals. He's a happy guy. He's got things to lose. He gives a shit about, something outside of wrestling. And that really kind of got me there. I loved watching the banner, a lot of the banter beforehand. The Rejects saying that they were Ian Rotten's accountant, I thought was pretty cool. The Rejects were on the receiving end of everything. They were trying to get the crowd behind them as much as possible. They went over the top with the heel moves. You could really see Murdoch trying hard to get them over as heels. So that the Rock and Roll Express could really be the guys to be, the White Knights.
And naturally, in the venue, in the setting that they're in, it being pretty much named for them, Rock and Roll Forever, naturally they were going to be the heels. And naturally, the Rock and Roll Express were going to be the absolute baby faces and be the ones to send the crowd home happy as they picked up the victory over John Wayne Murdoch and Reed Bentley. I think this was one of the first times too Reed Bentley's wrestled in the last couple months. I heard he was having taking some time away to take care of some personal issues, and I think just kind of taking a step back from the wrestling industry as well. But seeing him come back and teaming up with John Wayne Murdoch against the Rejects, I think it was as we were talking about earlier, the perfect tag team for the Rock and Roll Express to have their farewell match against.
Yeah, I'm sorry here. Let me see. So the last thing I want to say about it was I thought it was really cool for Ricky just to use light tubes since he's never really done it. He was so ginger and kind with the way he did it.
Didn't even know. He's like, what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah, dude. I was just that really, it was really nice. It was a great ending to the night. It was feel good. Yes. It was, it was short. It was quick. It really was a Rock and Roll Express match. It's just people who haven't seen them for years or decades might not know. But I mean, they used to come in like lightning. The women would yell. The men would be so happy to see these guys enter and just kick ass. I mean, they would come in, just wipe the floor and just leave. I mean, it didn't matter who it was, okay. So I do want to say one thing about it because I've actually been watching these guys since 1984. I'm not lying. I'm a little, I used to stay up on Saturday nights and I would watch whatever the local affiliate would feed to us. And the NWA was one of them. I used to watch AWA, a little bit of Mid-South. WWF would come on generally Saturday mornings. So in my neck of the woods, I didn't really have cable TV. My local station was who I had. And on Saturday nights for a kid, there wasn't shit to watch. I always stayed up late. So I wanted to basically close this chunk out for this by just kind of saying that I wrote something down. And I only wanted to say it as I felt because I wanted to give this to these guys. I basically wanted to say that as a 40-year career, they stayed together as a tag team the whole time. We're talking a 2-time USWA tag team champ. They were a 3-time Mid-South Wrestling tag team champs. 9 times NWA tag team champs. We're talking they carried the banner for NWA 10-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling tag team champs. WWE Hall of Famers. And I'll tell you, the minute they said 10-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling tag team champs, Evansville went fucking nuts because they know exactly what that's all about. That's Smoky Mountain territory. That's Mid-South territory through there. And people don't think it is. It definitely is. You have a lot of fans through there that even used to do tape trading. I've heard people, they used to turn their antennas on their house so that they could get a channel from somewhere else. And I know because I used to switch it from Cleveland to Pittsburgh some nights. So I actually know this. I had to take a wrench and actually, so long story short, I just wanted to close out that review on this one because I think it's only right that people who are new to GCW or maybe new to the Rock and Roll Express understand the history behind them and how important they were to people like me.
Well said. And like, I can't add much to it. Their resume speaks for themselves. What they've done over the last 40 years, you said, as a tag team.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about independent wrestling, kind of how it is now, with not so much territorial as it was back then, but you have your certain companies that are running the certain territories, and GCW is going to those towns and running those towns while they're in there. But this was a good way of the independent wrestling scene as a way to kind of say, hey, farewell, thank you for what you've done for independent wrestling, because like you said, there all those championships, they're not just in the big companies. They're like some of the little companies, but at the time they were bigger companies, and that's all over the United States, that they're traveling all over becoming their tag team champions with all these different companies. And that just says a lot of how well they were for wrestling back then, for the territories, as well as what they've done on the bigger platforms as well.
The only thing I can say to close this out with these guys in mad respect is legacy.
And that is how we close out the Rock and Roll Forever GCW show. And of course, what a way to go out, giving the Rock and Roll Express their due. A couple things I take away from this card is a nice solid card. It wasn't too crazy with the fighting all over the arena and the crazy spots and the crazy athleticism, but it was a very entertaining show, a perfect show to give respect to the legends at our Rock and Roll Express. And I just like seeing them choosing GCW as their platform, their promotion that they want to go out as a tag team. And I like seeing Jordan Oliver get back on that, or keep on that winning streak going, 3 in a row that weekend. And I would just want to see a lot more of Nick Wayne and Axon Ray. Can not wait to see what both of them can provide the GCW wrestling world of how great that. I think we're just scratching the surface on both of them. What are some things that you took away from?
Just being a dad, I thought it was really cool seeing Kerry Morton on his dad's last show in Evansville. I thought that was really cool. It was really cool to see Cole being the hometown hero. I know he gets mad cheers all the time, but seeing him really get cheered in his hometown, his home territory, I thought was really cool. The GCW chants, there was more GCW chants than normal. I thought I was wrong. I looked back. No, it was a pretty hot crowd. People were really into it. Happy birthday to Joey. I thought it was kind of cool when there's always a little happy birthday thing. Larry D being one hell of a hoss. I think he did a great job. Alec Price being on the radar and getting himself into GCW mouths. And Throw-Ya. Really love me some Throw-Ya, man. How you feeling about Throw-Ya?
It's Yo-Ya, not Throw-Ya. I like it when Yo-Ya gets Throw-Ya'd.
Yeah, it's really nice to know you when he does that. Let's see what else we got here. We found Ian Rotten's accountant. I thought that was really nice that the rejects found them.
I'm pretty sure some wrestlers are looking for that person.
But yeah, that's all the memorables that I can think of. It was just lovely to see my childhood. Man, I see it a lot now, but it was really lovely to see my childhood guys at least get a nice push off in the Evansville arena. It really is a special place.
Yes, and like you said, it was a great way to end the show, great way to end their careers. And they had one more card that weekend, which is Backyard Wrestling 4, and we will be going over that in our next episode. So keep a lookout for the GCW Plant Podcast, episode 7 it would be. We are going to be covering the Backyard Wrestling 4 and covering all the craziness that was that and how they ended off their so was it, it's the Summer Road Rage Vacation or something like that. Summer Road Vacation they were calling it. So yeah, 4 events, 5 days, the GCW hectic schedule that they always run. They ended it on 4th of July the way they always do with the Backyard Wrestling 4 craziness. We will be diving deep into that. That episode will probably be coming out either sometime next week, early next week. We are playing catch up here. We know we have the Backyard Wrestling show to catch up on. We have to catch up on the GCW Settlement Series. And as a little special treat, we are going to throw in and cover the JCW the bash that they did, because
that was a real GCW show, man. Yes, that was a GCW show.
So while it was under the JCW banner, it was really the GCW show that weekend. And So we'll be going over those two cards next week on the podcast. We're still working on back end video. As you see, we improved our times here. We covered 2 shows in one. So welcome to the extra double episode that you got today. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. And we're going to get... Go ahead.
More coming, man. There's more coming. Yep. The only thing I want to say on my end is we are just fans. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes,
so cool.
Thank you all you guys. I'm even like, as we were doing this, I'm kind of checking the numbers, vanity checking here, seeing how numbers doing, and for just releasing the other podcast that we did last night with our first show with you. I'll give you all the credit of bumping our numbers up. And getting some more plants to listen to our GCW Plant podcast. It has been very fun. This double episode here has been very fun. We will catch up. We will be on schedule at some point next week. We will be on the crazy schedule that GCW is on, and we will stay on schedule. We will be keeping posting it on social media. I will be uploading it to YouTube here over this weekend, and we will have a lot more content coming out. So please leave us feedback. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what you want to see, how we can improve, because we're always looking to improve on this podcast. And it's not just a podcast for us. I called it the GCW Plant Podcast because we're all the plants. That's the fans. And this is a podcast for you fans, as well as another way to get some extra GCW content on the days that there aren't any shows on. And we appreciate you listening to us. Keep on leaving that feedback. Subscribe, rate, review, whatever it is on the Spotify and on the Apple Podcast. I hate saying that, but it gives us feedback and lets us know that we're doing a good job or what we want to improve. And we just want to make this good for you guys because we have fun doing this, and we want you all to have fun listening. So on that note, once again, JJW, Mr. John J. Wolf, I appreciate you coming back for episode 2/3, even though it's a double episode. Appreciate you coming back. I didn't scare you away. I said, the fans seem to love you. You got all the views on your show. So thank you for coming back. On behalf of myself, I want to say thank you all, and we will see you next week. John, any parting words from yourself?
No, dead honest. We're just fans. Thank you so much for listening. We're just like all you. We are you.
Yes.
Come on over, say hi, write some questions. I'd love to talk about something someone else would like to talk about also, man.
Yes, please. Also, that reminds me, don't forget to hit us up on social media. Yep. I am Mystical Jericho on Twitter. If you type in like GCW Plant, I'll probably pop up right next to it. I have that next to my name. And where can they find you again, John?
You can find me as John J. Wolf on Twitter, JJW.
Awesome. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us with the follows, the feedback. Spread the word out. Any GCW people that you think would be interested in it, or you want to get interested in wrestling and awesome shows, please listen to this podcast. Help them expose them to the product. You GCWs in your town, take them with you to the show, and I guarantee you take them to one show, they will be hooked for life. So thank you all again very much. We appreciate you guys, and we will catch you next week on the GCW Plants podcast. You guys have yourselves a good night.